Playing Tolkien, it was remarkable. I was a huge fan of Lord of the Rings growing up. Actually got given The Hobbit to read whilst we were filming About a Boy by the White brothers, the directors. So I fell in love with his writing then, but I knew very little about him and his life. So getting to learn about him, the experiences he had, which made him able to create the masterpieces that he did, and then trying to inhabit him was incredible. It's some very heartbreaking relationships in the story that we're telling, it was just a great honour to get to play.
Do you have any kind of role that you would love to do that could be a challenge for you, and why?
I would like to do a Western film at some point. That would be a challenge because I'm not very good at riding horses. I'm not sure. I kind of like characters that you can disappear into either with a lot of makeup or costume and kind of be unrecognizable as possible. So I'd like to continue to try and do that as much as possible.
Hi. I would like to ask you about the character Beast.
Yes.
Do you like to do it, and about the characterization, and what do you feel about this character? Do you like to do it for X-Men?
Yeah, I love playing Beast. First of all, I was a fan of the cartoon growing up, and that's how I knew mainly of X-Men. But then as a character, he's just this wonderful, multifaceted character of this person who's kind of trapped with inside this mutation, but learning to grow and live with that is wonderful to play, and he's so intelligent and funny, I think. But I just got to meet Chris Claremont, and I'm kind of I was loving to get to talk to him about his opinions of the character and where he'd like to see the relationships go. So it's a character that I love playing, people that I love working with. And in terms of the characterization, obviously Kelsey Grammer had played the character before. So when I first took over the role, I kind of watched a lot of Frasier, and that was kind of my in a little bit to try and make it link in with what he had done with the role before. Amen.
Hi. We saw you doing a little bit of Stewie Griffin yesterday,
Yeah.
but that is kind of easy because he's British as well.
Yes.
How was your adaptation for American English, and why do you think that English actors excel so much in the States?
In terms of doing American accents, accents are a wonderful way to get into the rhythm of how someone speaks and everything else. So it's just a great thing, a tangible thing to lock down and form a character around. In terms of doing American accents, I haven't had too many complaints about the ones that I've done, so I think they're okay. The best compliment you can have on that is when someone says they didn't realise that you were British. So that's always good. In terms of British actors working well, I think we have a great work ethic. I think we love what we do and are doing it for the right reasons. So I think that would be my main thing that I think British actors bring to the table, just a dedication. Yeah.
Thank you.
How is it to work with Yorgos Lanthimos and the three main actresses of The Favourite?
Working with Yorgos is bizarre. It's the strangest working experience I've ever had. I went into the audition, I said, what do you imagine this character to be like? And he said, I don't know, we'll see. And we never spoke about character again from that moment on. We spent 2 weeks in rehearsals, the kind of main 6 cast of that movie, playing kind of theatre games, I guess. We'd kind of run the script of the movie, but whilst dancing and singing and clapping and all these like very strange scenarios. Basically getting very comfortable with each other and the script so that we could play around on set, and it's the most wonderful working experience I've had for a long time. I felt like I learned a lot off Yorgos. And in terms of those three ladies, they're just incredible actresses, and also just wonderful people to be around. It was a lovely set to be on, so just fun, very fun. Good. Yeah.
So when you have to start to learn something like fight, so otherwise, how is the preparation? How long? I'm a huge action fan, so.
In terms of the physical side of things, just as long as possible, basically, to learn. There's obviously certain times that you end up just doing it on the day, but particularly with something like Mad Max, those stunts we've been rehearsing, for months beforehand.
It was hard for you?
Pardon?
It was hard for you to learn? It's so...
No, I really enjoy it. It's just a different part of the brain that you're using, a different muscle to practice using. That was an interesting experience because I don't think any of us expected to be doing as many stunts as we were. So I remember one day turning up at work and they gave me a harness and a helmet and like strapped me underneath a truck and then drove it around, and I was like, this is crazy. Most films wouldn't spend the time and prepare properly to let actors get in those positions. And it's just brilliant for a performer because then you don't have to imagine or pretend something's going on. You've got the real live elements around you.
Do you have any future projects that you can talk about? Besides the already we talked here?
The favourite, Tolkien. Dark Phoenix comes out in February, which is that I'm very excited. Simon Kinberg, who wrote and wrote the last few X-Men movies, directed this one as well, and he gave me a beautiful arc to play with Beast and kind of take that character in a different direction. So I'm excited for people to see that. And then I just finished Justin Kurzel's new film called True History of the Kelly Gang. And again, that's like a very different character, I think, to what I played before. So I'm not sure when that'll be out, but it's with George Mackay and Russell Crowe and Charlie Hunnam, lovely cast.
How was the experience of shooting Mad Max? Is it as exciting as the movie is, or it was like hard to have a complicated moments? Can you tell us about that experience?
It was certainly tough at times. It was a long shoot. I think we shot for 116 days in the Namibian desert. So it was a long time to be there and away from home. In terms of the set, it's the most exciting set I've ever been on. We would you'd turn up at work and there'd be world-class motorcyclists kind of jumping over trailers and stuff and just practicing for these insane stunts. And I think it's one of the few times that I've got fully like chills before doing a scene, because once all those engines start up and all the war boy characters would be very amped up throughout those scenes. So incredible for that. And also George Miller's just an incredible director to work with. His attention to detail is just remarkable, and he cares so much about the characters, and he cares so much about the characters and this guy and his performances. So yeah, it was wonderful. Sorry, I got distracted by that fly.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought.
It's probably the same one from yesterday.
Yeah.
Was there one in here yesterday? I didn't notice yesterday, but
That was my stroke.
oh really? Perfect. Yeah, sorry.
Watching your filmography, you had some experience in television, like in skins, for instance. But you haven't done television in quite a while. Do you expect some project on television? And in this question, I would like to know what your opinion about nowadays working in television and working in cinema.
I think I am going to go do some more TV. Tony McNamara, who wrote The Favourite, the Yorgos Lanthimos. Hello? Oh yeah, there we go. Tony McNamara, who wrote The Favourite, has written a script that I think myself and Elle Fanning are going to go do, which will be a series. And I'm excited to work in TV again because you just have more time in terms of developing characters. You know, most of the time, I was just talking to Chris Claremont about this. In movies, you have 2 hours, and you have to pack in a lot of relationships and story within that time. Whereas in a series, you can have 10 hours and really sit with the characters and develop them differently. So that's what I'm very excited about with that.
What did you get to experience since yesterday?
Since yesterday?
Yeah, you were saying that you live well, eating and...
Yeah, we went and ate, what's the dish called when you have steak with hot sauce and crisps?
Francine?
No, not a zinger.
famoso dos Açores. Não é bem daqui.
We ate that. That's a bizarre meal. It was very tasty, but I've never seen a plate of food anything like that before. So we did that and walked around the old city a little bit. What else have we done since yesterday? Pedro got very drunk last night. I had to wrangle him to get here today.
How was the party?
The party was great. There was some terrifying zombies though. I find that stuff quite scary, to be honest with you.
When you went in a movie because you choose or because someone wants a movie, it is important for you the message that the movie passes to the person?
I'm not sure if I focus on the overall message of the movie. I just focus on the story because I think different people will take away different things. It's certainly how something makes you feel, and there's certain scripts that you read and just instantly fall in love with, and also understand the character very clearly. So that's always wonderful when that happens. But not necessarily the overall message that was trying to be conveyed throughout it. No.
And do you think that there are still villains or not?
Villains?
The villains can be good boy.
Yeah, I like playing villains. I find them interesting characters because you never want to imagine them as just being the villain or the bad person. You have to kind of find other angles to understand them, and they're often fun characters to play. So I like playing villains.
And actually start as a villain.
No. But that's the wonderful thing about that role is that you start as a completely 100% committed villain, and then have a complete change of heart and reassess everything in his life, and then dies for the complete opposite reason of what he was originally aiming to achieve. Which is, as an actor, you can't help it's a complete gift to get to play a character like that.
How was it to play Nikola Tesla with Benedict Cumberbatch? Because that movie hasn't come out yet.
No, yeah. First of all, Nikola Tesla was incredible. Just learning about him was remarkable. The man was so ahead of his time in terms of what he was creating and imagining and the ideas he was formulating. Just an incredible human. And I also didn't know how those relationships worked between Edison and George Westinghouse and Tesla, because he kind of intertwined with all of them. And I don't think a lot of people realize quite how significant he was in everything that we now take for granted, perhaps technology-wise. So that was my first time working with Benedict Cumberbatch, and we had a wonderful time working with him. He's very funny and wonderful in the movie. He transforms completely into his characters. And my second time working with Michael Shannon, who's one of my favourite actors to watch and be in scenes with. He's just got such an intensity, but also a warmth, I think, and simplicity in his performances, which I love.
Yesterday in the panel as well, you mentioned that you were a little bit lucky in certain steps of your career, like you're just with someone and you got cast for something. Now that you're a full adult, how are you experiencing the casting, and how is that working for you? Do you actually cast nowadays, or things just offered to you, or?
It depends on what it is. Sometimes things just come in as an offer, and other times you go and audition for things. It's an odd transition because when you're a younger actor, you kind of audition a lot, continually. So you might have 3, 4, 5 auditions a week. Who knows if you're lucky, and so you're kind of always moving on to the next thing. Whereas now, if I'm going for an audition for something, it's normally maybe one or two a year perhaps, and there's a lot more focus in on it, and oddly, yeah, I get more nervous now auditioning than I did before, because I don't know, you just get more in your head about it, and as you get older
How much did that process change? Because we are used to hearing stories about a room full of actors that look alike a few years back, and now all the casting is made like through an iPhone that is sent to the director and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how did that change? How did you feel about that change throughout the years?
Well, I mean, it's weird because a lot of the time you end up, or I used to have to send in a lot of tapes, which is brilliant because I could be in London and audition for things that were in Los Angeles, and it'd be easy to do. But at the same time, you're kind of, without having proper direction and input in the room, you're kind of shooting in the dark a little bit because you don't know what they're aiming for. Luckily, it has worked out for me a few times doing that though. And then in terms of how else it's changed, I know I'm glad that a lot of the time I don't have to be in rooms with loads of people waiting, because it just makes you very nervous. I'm just remembering at one time when I was a lot younger, I did an audition for a TV show, and they didn't even turn the camera on to record the scene, and I was like, I did the scene, and they went, thank you very much, and I was like, oh, should we record it? And the casting director was like, no, it's okay. And that was the whole audition. I was like, I don't think that went too well. Yeah.